If you enjoyed this incredible story of second chances and friendship, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Where are you watching from today? What would you have done if you were in Ethan's shoes? Let us know in the comments below. We can't wait to read your perspective. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the next heartwarming tale we have in store for you tomorrow. Your support means the world to us, and we promise more inspiring stories are coming your way. Join our community and stay tuned for what's next. How a billionaire changed a waitress's life forever, the shocking truth revealed. Ethan Walker hadn't stepped into a diner in years, but as he walked through the door, the familiar chime of the entrance bell echoed, pulling him back to a time he thought he'd forgotten. The air was thick with the smell of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon. He adjusted his tailored suit, shaking off the light drizzle from outside. This wasn't the world he was used to anymore. As a self-made billionaire in the tech world, his life was all about luxury. Private jets, fine dining, the best hotels. But this was a small diner, a place for the regulars who knew each other by name, a far cry from the high-stakes world Ethan lived in. He stood there for a moment, observing the worn-out tables and the casual chatter of customers. But then something made him pause. He heard a voice that was so familiar, so distinct. Table 3 needs a refill, Han. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. The voice was unmistakable. It was Clare Lawson, his best friend from college. The woman who had believed in him when no one else did, the one who pulled all-nighters with him, who encouraged him to chase his dreams when they seemed impossible. Ethan's chest tightened as his gaze landed on her. There she was, standing behind the counter in a worn-out uniform, balancing plates and taking orders with a tired smile. How had life brought him here? How had Claire, one of the brightest people he had ever known, ended up waiting tables in a diner while he had built an empire? It didn't seem fair. Ethan watched her for a moment, processing the shock, the guilt, and the sudden need to do something, anything to change her life. He knew he couldn't just leave, not after seeing this. He needed to find out what had happened to her, to understand why her dreams had been put on hold while his had soared. Without thinking twice, he made a decision. He wasn't leaving without changing her life for good. Ethan sat quietly in the corner booth, watching Claire from a distance. His mind raced, trying to piece together how everything had changed. Back in college, Claire had been his rock, his partner in crime. They shared dreams of changing the world, of starting businesses and leaving their mark. But life had pulled them in different directions. While Ethan had soared to unimaginable heights in the tech world, Claire had been stuck here, serving coffee and waiting on tables, let her dreams quietly fading away. How had things gone so wrong for her? The moment she walked over to his booth, balancing a notepad in one hand, Ethan's heart skipped again. Claire had aged, yes, but the spark in her eyes was still there, the same spark that had burned bright when they were young. She recognized him immediately, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Ethan?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. He smiled, trying to keep his composure. "It's been a while," he said, his voice steady, though his chest tightened at the sight of her. She was still the same woman, the one who had stood by him during his toughest moments. But now, she was standing in front of him, a far cry from the ambitious college graduate he once knew. Claire hesitated for a moment, then managed a weak smile. "A while? Try 10 years," she said with a laugh, but there was no real joy in it. The truth hung heavy between them. Ethan knew it. She knew it. They had both lost something in the years that had passed, and Claire had sacrificed so much for her family. Ethan felt a pang of guilt. She had put her dreams on hold to care for her father, and when he passed, it seemed like the world had moved on without her. She had tried to rebuild, but it hadn't worked out. And here she was, serving in a diner, her dreams of publishing lost along with her sense of hope. "Claire, you were supposed to take over the publishing world," Ethan said softly, the words full of regret. She sighed, staring into her coffee cup. "Life happened," she murmured, the weight of the past in her voice. Ethan leaned in closer. "Well, I think it's time we change that. Time someone gives you a second chance." He paused for a moment before pulling out a white envelope from his jacket pocket and sliding it across the table. Claire stared at it, her eyes wide with confusion. She hesitated, but curiosity got the better of her, and she opened it. When she saw what was inside, a fully funded business proposal, a lease for office space in New York, and a $250,000 check to start her dream publishing company, her breath caught. "Ethan, what is this?" she whispered, tears starting to well in her eyes. "It's your future," Ethan said, his voice soft but filled with conviction. "The one you were supposed to have." Claire's hand trembled as she looked down at the proposal Ethan had just handed her. She had dreamed of this moment for years, but now that it was right in front of her, doubt crept in. She wanted to jump at the opportunity to grab hold of her dream again, but there was a catch. She couldn't simply accept charity, no matter how generous it seemed. No, Claire wasn't one to take the easy route. "I can't take this, Ethan," she whispered, shaking her head. "It's too much. I can't just accept this from you. It feels wrong." Ethan's face remained calm, but his heart raced. He had been certain that Claire would see the offer for what it was, a lifeline, a chance to revive the spark of ambition and brilliance that had once made her unstoppable. "This isn't a handout," Ethan said, his voice firm yet gentle. "You're not just taking money. You're taking back your life, your dreams. You believed in me when no one else did. You made me see that anything was possible. Now it's my turn to give you the same. I want to help you rebuild, Claire." Claire wiped away a tear that had slipped down her cheek, overwhelmed by the gesture, but conflicted by the pride she had held on to all these years. She had worked so hard to get here, and the idea of starting over, again, was terrifying. But then something shifted in her. A spark ignited deep inside, the fire of ambition she thought she had buried long ago. She had been stuck for so long, unable to move forward. But maybe it wasn't too late. "I don't want a handout," Claire said, her voice stronger now, determination filling her every word. "I want to earn this. I want to do this on my own terms, with you as partners." Ethan blinked, taken aback for a moment by her response. Then he smiled, a genuine, wide smile. "So you'll do it?" he asked, almost in disbelief. Claire nodded, her eyes shining with a renewed sense of purpose. "Yes, but no special treatment. We're going to build this company from the ground up, together." Ethan grinned. "Deal." And just like that, Claire's future shifted. They had spent years apart, but in that moment, something clicked between them. A bond that had always been there, stronger than ever. Claire was ready to fight for her dreams again, and this time she wouldn't have to do it alone. The next morning, Claire quit her job. She packed her bags, and within a week, she was sitting in an office in New York. Her office. Her dream was alive again, and so was she. Claire's heart raced as she sat in the sleek, modern office, the walls lined with bookshelves and the bright city skyline in the distance. Everything she had ever dreamed of was finally within reach. It felt surreal, almost as though she was in someone else's life. Just a week ago, she was stuck in that diner, refilling coffee cups, questioning whether her dreams were even possible anymore. Now she was sitting in an office that was hers, a business proposal in front of her, with the backing of Ethan, the one person who had always believed in her. But even as excitement bubbled inside her, there was a nagging thought that wouldn't leave her. She had come this far, but the road ahead was filled with uncertainty. Building her own publishing company wasn't going to be easy, especially when she had lost so much time already. Would she be able to handle the pressure? Would she succeed this time? The fear of failure whispered at the edges of her mind, but she pushed it aside. This was her second chance, and she wasn't about to let it slip away. She glanced across the room at the door, where Ethan stood, a supportive presence behind her. He had been there from the start, back in college when no one else believed in her. And now, as her partner in this new venture, she knew that she wasn't alone. "I don't know if I'm ready," Claire admitted quietly, her voice filled with a mix of vulnerability and resolve. Ethan stepped forward, at whisk offering a reassuring smile. "You don't have to be. We'll take it one step at a time, together." Claire took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision settling in her chest. This was it. This was where it all started to come together, where she could finally build what she had always wanted. And with Ethan's help, she wasn't afraid anymore. They would face the challenges ahead together, and this time, failure was not an option. "Let's do it," she said, her voice steady, a fierce determination in her eyes. "Let's build something incredible." With that, the journey began. The road would be hard, But Claire was ready to take the first step, knowing that her future and her dreams were finally back in her grasp. The days that followed were a whirlwind of paperwork, meetings, and planning. Claire, with Ethan by her side, was finally doing what she had always wanted. They had a vision, and they were determined to bring it to life. But as the weeks passed, the weight of the responsibility began to settle in. Claire felt the pressure mounting. She was no longer just dreaming. She was building an empire, and every decision she made seemed like it would affect the future of her company. Late one evening, as she sat at her desk, staring at the growing stack of contracts, she felt the familiar pang of doubt creeping in. What if she wasn't good enough? What if this didn't work? She had been given a second chance, but the fear of failing again was a constant companion. She glanced across the room at Ethan, who was working on his own set of papers. He looked up, sensing her tension. "You okay?" he asked, his voice calm, but there was a hint of concern in his eyes. Claire sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I'm just worried. We've come so far, but what if I can't do this? What if I mess it up?" Ethan walked over and stood beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Claire, you've always had the drive and the talent. That hasn't changed. It's not about being perfect. It's about taking risks and believing in yourself. I believe in you, and that's enough. We're in this together." His words hit her harder than she expected. She realized then that she wasn't alone in this. Ethan had believed in her when no one else had. And now, even in the darkest moments of self-doubt, he was still there, supporting her. She wasn't just building a company. She was building a future with someone who had never given up on her. Claire smiled, feeling the weight of her doubts lifting just a little. "You're right. We'll figure it out together." And just like that, she knew what she had to do. It wasn't about perfection. It was about pushing forward, no matter the obstacles. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but with Ethan by her side, Claire felt ready to face whatever challenges came their way. She wasn't just a waitress turned entrepreneur anymore. She was a woman determined to make her dreams come true. And this time, she wasn't backing down. What an inspiring story of resilience and second chances. What would you do if you found an old friend working a job far beneath their potential? Would you step in to help them rebuild their dream, just like Ethan did for Claire? This story shows the true power of believing in someone, even when they've lost hope in themselves. We'd love to hear your thoughts. How would you have reacted in Ethan's shoes? What's your opinion on Claire's decision to take a second chance at her dreams? And do you think she was right to want to build the company together with Ethan instead of taking a handout? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had a moment where someone believed in you when you doubted yourself? We want to hear your experiences and what motivates you to keep moving forward. And don't forget, subscribing to our channel ensures you won't miss out on more heartwarming and motivational stories that can make a difference in your life. Your story matters, and we're here to share it with you. Let's continue this journey together.